What do you got?
What have you found, I guess, going into your second year, this is your third job, the things that you like about how things kind of come together in the second year of a program?
Well, every job's been different. There's been different second years at all three places, and this one's just getting going. So I think we're happy with where we are right now. From the off-season standpoint, I think from a strength and conditioning standpoint, Coach Johnson's done a fine job creating strength and size, but also attitude in the off season, and I think that's shown throughout fall camp. So, we got a bunch of there's new blood out there, some junior college guys, some high school guys, a little bit different energy. It's just a different team. So that's kind of been the case in all three of these situations. But I like where we are right now.
When you look at your two deep here, do you sort of feel better about things than maybe you did a year ago, like more certainty, more higher comfort level, like the personnel better?
Well, I can say, for one thing, if you look at particularly in the defensive line, right, we've got more able bodies, guys that can really play without the talent level dropping off that much. And there's some guys that are in the two deep now and second team that started a bunch of games last year. So, that being said, you would think that the talent level has been raised. I don't know, but there's been great competition in the defensive line, offensive line, and just a lot of places. We got with Jace coming back, it's been some great competition in the secondary too. So. You feel better, at least from a depth standpoint, because, game 6, 7, or 8 last year, you had two freshman corners out there, right? And you had a couple of D linemen playing almost every snap the whole game. So it was, from a depth standpoint, you got to feel better about it.
You talked about Drew kind of being one of those guys who was really good one day and maybe not so
Who's that?
good. Drew Dixon.
Oh.
A guy that was really good one day, but not maybe great the next day. Obviously, maybe a lot of us are surprised to see his name at the top of the depth chart. But what has allowed him to get to that position?
Well, I think he's come a long way. I mean, from attitude, just his approach in daily life, and our big thing this fall camp has been consistency, and we've challenged our players, coaches, everybody. That's where we need to be. We need to be a more consistent team. Last year we played very well some weeks and played poorly, and spring football was a little bit like that, and a little bit up and down. And so, from day one this fall camp, we've been talking about, being consistent, proving to your teammates, proving to your coaches, hey, here's what we're going to get from you, and not just today, but who are the guys that are going to bring this kind of consistency to this football team every day? And Drew has, and part of that is just being honest with you. Part of that's growing up, right? So part of that's just maturing, and for a lot of these young guys that have been on the field, just like Jamari or some of these other guys, it's part of growing up. From 18 to 19 to 20, and being, knowing what it's like to have to really work at something instead of just being maybe the best player on the football field. And 2 weeks ago, I said it pretty point blank. A lot of you guys are used to being the best guy on the field, maybe on your team, but there's everybody. We once you cross those white lines now on Saturdays in major college football, there's a bunch of you guys out there. So what's going to be the difference? And so I think Drew's approached it that way, and that's just part of growing up.
Do you have an example of how you've seen Drew make some of those strides?
No, I just in general. I think we've. I think you hit it on the head. I said some days he was really good, some days he was non-existent. So I think for me and this team, the big thing is, I'll get back to it. I know it sounds like coach speak, but I'm serious. Consistency, and we've got to be able to put the effort together back to back to back to back games and back to back practices, which we talked about, and what does that effort look like? Last year, I never was on these guys. I thought they played hard. We played hard every week. There wasn't one time even with some depth issues that I was not, I was unhappy about effort. But effort's the price of admission. We got to get past that. All right. So now what? All right. What can we count on from you? You're going to make mistakes, but hey, listen. Who are the guys that we have that are consistently going to be in the right place, consistently communicate and do those types of things, and that's what's been the focus this whole camp.
How much of a gap do you see, if at all, between Rhett and Grant at this point?
What do you mean?
Well,
Gap?
One's 2 and one's 3 on here. Does that mean that one is higher than the other?
No, it just one guy's got more experience than the other guy. So, one guy's been here since January, and the other guy's been here before I got here. So, he's been around a bit. He started a game, and he's played in games. So, that's both of them are different guys from skill set wise. Grant's a little bigger guy that doesn't probably move as well as Rhett, but Rhett has experience. So, Grant's come along fine.
Aside from the playing earlier than normal, you also have a week off after the first game. Does that kind of make the opener almost like an extension of the preseason because you have such a gap after it before you go into everything else?
I don't know about that. I think, somebody asked me at media days, said, you got 3 bye weeks. It's strange. Well, I'd rather have that than playing 10 straight weeks like we did last year, right? So, particularly with a team like last year that didn't have a lot of depth, that was tough. But, the trip is what it is to Hawaii. It's a great experience for our players, for our student athletes and coaches. A lot of guys have never been there. That being said, when you get back, it's 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning Sunday. That makes for a tougher week. So the bye comes at the right time for us, just from a recovery standpoint.
Last year, there were only 3 times when you guys really weren't in the game. They were all on the road, and in each time you got off to a slow start. Was there any pattern that you saw to those games, and how do you avoid something like that happening again?
I don't know. I mean, we looked at it, and there's a lot of different factors. In the Washington State game, you get down there, and then they score. We go all the way to the 1-yard line, and they score right before half, in 99 yards. So, which was, that was tough. Utah was a different situation. I think that's what you're talking about, right? And so, every game is, mutually exclusive, and then we play like that, and then you come back and we play like we did against Oregon, so it gets back to what we were just talking about. All right, what is that? Why is that? And what we're looking for is consistent performance, because the effort's there, but consistent performance across the board. And when you are inconsistent or like that, that's what happens. So, we got to have a good idea. This is what we're talking about at practice. We need to see from you as a player, what can we count on, and I think our guys have really taken that challenge, and even amongst each other, because it's not just as I told them last week. You're not here just to prove to me what we can expect out of you, but you need to prove it to your teammates, so that we can have that trust and dedication going forward. And I think these guys have done a nice job of that this camp.
What are some of the different qualities that DeMarco Murray's brought to your coaching staff?
Well, he's there's very few guys who've been player of the year, right, in the NFL. Let's just start there. So, he has done a nice job. He's always been a real sharp guy. He's always worked at the game. And then it's just be honest. I think when he says something, the players and whoever they are, they listen. They want to know his opinion, because the guy's played at the highest level. You know, he's and been successful. There's, you know, you've got the guys that have played at the highest level in college football, right? Then you've got guys who have been on NFL teams and played a little bit, but this guy's been, you know, in 1 year the best there is in that league. So, you know, so when he says something, guys listen, and there's a lot of credibility to particularly with the players. You know, that a lot of credibility when he speaks.
What has Anthony Pandy shown you?
I think. Well, I think I know this is going to sound like a broken record, but where he is right now and where he was last year are like two different guys. And as you just talked about, Drew Dixon, Anthony was like that last year. Some games great, you know, some games disappeared, right? So I think it really started for him in the spring because there was unbelievable competition between he and Tony Fields, which has been healthy for our football team. And so those guys have really worked at it. They both want to start. So one guy started a lot of games here, and the other guy has not. And you know, it's been great competition and depth building with Colin Schooler, and giving us the opportunity to get him off the field some, because you know he played a lot of snaps last year, and the way Colin plays, you know, he's all the way to that last game when he's got the flu. You know, it wasn't a coincidence that he was sick at the end of the year. You know, so we need to be able to get a rotation in there with Pandy and Fields and Schooler. I think Day-Day has come on a little bit and done a nice job. You know, Day-Day's playing a lot of special teams for us. And I think the addition of Darian Clark he has shown some real flashes this fall camp, particularly in some of the scrimmages. So, you know, Day-Day and what that allows us to do is get those guys more involved in special teams. Some of the things that Schooler has been covering kicks and been doing a lot of different things. Not to say that we won't use those guys, but Darian Clark and Day-Day have given us the opportunity to play them more on special teams, and the rotation of Fields and Pandy and Schooler gives us. You've got to feel a little bit better about depth and you know, and quality play across the board.
What has Miles and Trayvon shown you the last couple weeks that they're capable of being your starting defensive tackle?
Well, the first thing, they're in better shape right now, right, than they were. I don't think Miles could make it through warm-ups last spring. So you guys kept looking for him. Where is he? Well, shoot, he's tired. So he's but he's down to, I'd say down, was he down to 315, I guess, something like that, which is, you guys laughing at that, right? I'm happy about that too, because it might have been closer to 340-ish in the spring. So, and then, you know, so this whole spring and summer with Coach Johnson and you know, strength and conditioning have really, really helped Miles. And it was a lot for him. You know, he's coming to junior, he's playing spring, and he's a little bit overwhelmed with school. So we just kind of took it easy with him. Trayvon is a little bit different because he just got here right before camp. So we took it really, really easy with him, monitored him every day, and just kind of brought him along slowly. So he's, you know, he has gotten in shape. He's in better shape than he was a month ago. So we'll see where he is. As many times as Hawaii throws the ball, you know, we'll see what kind of shape he's in Saturday night, because it's been a while for him. And you know, very rarely do you know, these depth charts. Everybody always makes fun. You know, is that guy really that big? But you know, he was. This chart's pretty accurate with him because he's not 285. He's 310, and he's taller than 6'3" or 4. So. Is he growing? I don't know. He just looks bigger than he was when we recruited him, that's always a great thing, particularly for a D lineman.
In terms of DeMarco, and I asked JJ this question, I would think if you're a player and you've got an NFL player in the room, you would want to like literally keep him there all night just to try to soak up as much knowledge as possible. And I was wondering if you're, as a coach, do you have to tell those guys, hey, you know, don't keep him there until 3 in the morning, we got a life kind of thing, so that they're not overloading him?
No, he's good. I mean, it's not just, and I think here's what I touched on a little bit was, it's not just the running backs, right? You got guys like Schooler that come down there and want to talk to him. What is this like? Who is this guy like? Because of the level the level and success that he played. Because, guys like Schooler and some of these other guys, they're curious. They don't know. They watch it on television, and so his opinion about just playing at that level, I think, is important to all the players, not just the running backs.
What stands out to you most about Hawaii's team?
Well, I think, Rolo, I shouldn't say Rolo, Coach Rolovich is a good friend, obviously. He's a tough guy. I think the quarterback is a real reflection of him. Here's a guy who threw for 3,800 yards last year, 500-yard debut, 6'4", 220, runs around all over the place and can spin it. And so he's a big, tough guy that you see him get hit sometimes. It doesn't faze him. He's going to get up and keep going. I think the team is a real reflection of their head coach. And, the scary part about this guy, McDonald, is, he had a great year last year with 38 touchdowns to 10 interceptions, something like that. And then, he's coming back this year, bigger and stronger. So, they've got some weapons offensively, and defensively. But I think they've got a quarterback that is as good as probably there is in the country.
You mentioned that a lot of players and coaches haven't been to Hawaii, so is there going to be any sightseeing trips or going to the beach while you guys are there?
Well, I think we're staying there on the beach, so it's a little bit different than I had a team. I probably shouldn't tell this story. So I feel better about this team going to Hawaii because we do have palm trees here, and a lot of these guys from California have been to a beach, so it's a little bit different than the team I went to Hawaii a few years ago from Minnesota. It was a little bit different, so scenery was different in Minnesota than it is around here. So it's we got guys that a lot of them haven't been there, but Southern California and some places they'll be all right.
How far back do you and Coach Rolovich go?
Just know each other from different events and trade ideas and things like that. I just think he's a cutting edge guy. He's a guy that is a very intense guy. And like I said, I think you see his football team. They are a reflection of him. I mean, they're tough, they're sound, and I don't know how many times they're going to throw it, but he's not going to back off of that either. So it's we've got to be prepared, obviously, for their running game, but we also have to have that rotation in the front and to be able to rush the passer.
Whether it's at Hawaii or home, what are you most anxious to see in the first game of the season?
Just what we've been talking about. We got some new guys that they're going to be on the field. You talked about Drew Dixon. You talked about some of these guys that have been in backup roles that are going to be pressed into, not pressed, but they've been practicing in starting roles. The new guys, and as we talked about, the new guys in the defensive front, new guys in the offensive line. Usually a coach is very, very nervous about that, but heck, we had one returning starter last year in the offensive line and the walk-on center. So you got to feel better about what you're at right now with at least 3-4 guys that a little bit older, a little bit bigger, and we know something about. With JJ, Bryce Williams had a nice. We kind of slowed down with him the first 2 weeks, but his last 2 weeks he's been in the mix, has been doing a nice job. So you look at some of these guys that didn't play last year and who are coming off of injuries and things like that. There's just more stability right now. We didn't have Scotty Young for 3 games at the beginning of the year. Jace was non-existent. It's a different team right now with Miles and Trayvon. I mean, it's just a completely different football team. So for me and as a coach, it's been exciting just because of the new faces that are there and some guys that have been in this program but have struggled because of other issues, whether it's injury or suspension. That gets back to the consistency piece, and I think our guys have done a pretty nice job in the off season of handling their business. I go back to the spring semester. We had the highest GPA, team GPA in the history of the program. And so what that tells me is these guys are listening, and they're about their business right now more than just what we're just talking about, hit or miss. Now, will that transfer to Saturday evenings? You got to hope so, because I think what we've asked them to do in the off season, they have worked really hard at it, and they have shown that not just in this building, but on campus and socially, all kinds of ways that they're growing up, and you gotta think that that's going to transfer to the results on Saturday.
Even acknowledging his athleticism, which you've mentioned before, and the fact that he was in the quarterback room before, which helped him, are you still a little bit surprised that Damari has ascended as quickly as he has?
A little bit, but guy's a really good athlete. We all knew that. So I think one thing that I've seen this before too. So one thing that you forget about is that conceptually, when you make that move from quarterback to receiver, conceptually he's already there, because he's got to know the route tree. He's got to know the route combinations because he's reading them, right? Now, the technique, that becomes the issue, right? But him walking through the door, changing positions and going out there and playing receiver is probably easier for him than it was for a couple of these freshmen that walked in here, right? Or a junior college guy who he doesn't know our route tree, he doesn't know our communication, our verbiage, anything. So all you had to do with him really is it's coaching and technique, because he knows where everybody's supposed to be. Well, he better have, because he was quarterback. But it's the technique piece, and he's a really good athlete, and he's got great hand-eye. I was shocked he was back there. I lost a bet because he was catching punts the other day, and he was doing that effortlessly. So I don't know if he's going to do that, but that just tells you what kind of athlete he is with his speed, his size, and his hand-eye coordination.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks, guys.